What's up, guys? So in this video we're going to go over the D150 and how it did on its first time out at the drag strip. We were finally able to squeeze in a test and tune run up at the local drag strip, and we got some pretty good data off of it. We were able to make 5 runs total, so hopefully we can fine tune everything now that we got some data on it. And this was my first time at the track, so disregard the reaction time and all that stuff. I've never been to the track before, and this was kind of a new experience for me entirely. So more than the truck being tested, it was me being tested to figure out how all this stuff works. But anyway, so now we're going to start doing some more tuning on this truck now that we have some data to go off of, and I'll probably make another video about that in a future video. I want to go over the truck real quick though, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. I know we got some new people on the channel, and I want to make sure they're kind of understand what's going on with the truck. It's a 5.9 Magnum, and it has Holley EFI on it right now. As you can see, we're running the LS coil packs. I get some comments on that sometimes about why do you have LS coil packs. Well, the reason is because it's about the same price to run those as it is to run with the factory style when it comes to the Holley EFI stuff. The harness you got to buy and everything, and the distributor and all that, about the same price. So I went ahead and went this way because it's a little bit better to have a coil on each individual cylinder, because it allows the coils to regenerate faster so they can get a better spark on each cylinder, versus how the other ones are set up. It's like one coil for 8 cylinders, so it has to fire 8 times for every cycle, and these only have to fire once. So it's a lot easier on the coils, and it can get a better spark that way. But anyways, that's regardless of what this is about. So real quick, I'll go over this engine. It's running the Hughes intake air gap. It has a cam in it. It's 214, 218 duration, and it has 533 lift and a 109 lobe separation angle. So it's nothing too crazy. It's pretty mild really, but it is a whole lot better than stock. And I like this cam because obviously it helps with power, but it doesn't push the power peak up to 6,000 RPM. This one makes peak power at about 5,300 RPM, and that's about where I want it to be, because I don't want to be revving this thing up to 6,000 RPM every time. I am throwing away some power by not doing it that way, but with boost I don't think it's really going to matter, because we're going to be testing the limits of this engine regardless. How we get there, it's going to have the same amount of power going through it, so it really doesn't matter. The only thing that might affect, like I said, is the power band where it comes in at. But like I said, I think it'll be pretty good with the way it's set up now. So these NA numbers aren't going to be that great, because this is not a max effort cam. It's a pretty mild cam, and just want to clarify that real quick. But it does also have long tube headers, and we got some weight reduction. As you can see, it doesn't have any fender liners in it, and the blower motor's gone, along with the heater core and all the ducting and everything for the AC and all that behind the dash is all gone. So not much, but a little bit here and there. And it does have a roll pan on it back here, so we lost a little bit of weight by getting rid of that bumper. And we do have the fuel cell back here to kind of put some weight over the rear axle. The fuel tank is out of it, and we got the battery relocated back here as well to kind of help with the weight on the axle as well. So in the video you'll see that we didn't really have any traction issues, which is really surprising to me. I thought it was going to spin for sure, but they have pretty good prep out there, and it worked out pretty well. And then I started worrying about transmission and the U-joints not holding up if it did hook, and they did. So everything seems pretty good so far. We should be able to make some more runs with this. Hopefully I can get some stuff off the data log, and we can make it a little better next time. But that'll be it for now. I'll go ahead and let y'all see the videos, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Alright guys, so as you can see in the video, we made some good passes. Seemed pretty consistent. We got 870, 879 two times, and then 877 the third time. So it's pretty good for about what I expected it to run, honestly, because we do have a 323 gear in this thing right now, and you can kind of tell in the video it kind of bogs coming off the line. It really needs to be revved up more, and I might be able to do a little bit with that on my own by stalling it up more. I was trying to push through the brakes a little bit, so the rear brakes on this truck aren't that good. So hopefully we can figure something out to where I can stall it up higher. Because I noticed that even looking back at some of the logs that it was stalling up at about 1900 RPM and or 1800 about. And I think we can squeeze a little bit more out of that, because as soon as I let off the throttle, you can see it kind of spikes up on the data log. It spikes up to 3000, which is the converter that's in this truck. So we may have to do some testing there and see if we can bring that up a little bit, and that might help the 60 foot. That might bring our times down a little bit, but we're trapping 79 mile an hour every time. That's pretty consistent running that. The last run we did, opened the headers up. It's got the electric cutout on them. I think I mentioned that in another video, but anyway, we opened it up. That's why the camera was kind of shaky, because it was droning pretty bad in the cab. But it knocked off 0.02 of a second, which I don't think that really had anything to do with that. Maybe it did, but I don't really think so. Being that consistent, it could have just been a heat soak or something on the last run, but maybe it did make a difference. I don't know. But I do want to mention that as well. My intake air temps were about 150 to 160 on those runs, so they weren't that great. I tried to let it cool down a little bit on the first run, and because I just drove it up there, but I let it cool down for about 40 minutes or so, but they were still pretty high. It's like 120. So I mean, I don't know how much we can get out of that if I were to cool it down a little bit more, but 870 is not bad at all for kind of what I expected. And like I said, with boost, it's going to make a big difference. We're going to cut that number down quite a bit, and we're going to be putting a 373 gear in this thing, so that's going to help a lot. We are probably going to have traction issues, of course. I'm going to have to get some tires that will hook when we got all that going on, because right now it will hook if you do a pretty good burnout. But the first run I did, my foot slipped off the gas, and that run was pretty much scrapped. It ran like a 10 something. And then the second run we did, I didn't do a good enough burnout, and it wheel hopped like crazy. It spun and wheel hopped, and it ended up running a 9 something. So those were both scrap runs. But then the final 3 that I actually got on video, they were all pretty good runs. So now we can take that information and see if we can make it a little bit better. But as far as I can tell, the truck seems to be pretty happy. I'll probably make another video on some of the changes I make, and then we'll test it out and see what it does, the drag strip. But since you stuck around through this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you some other stuff that we got for the truck that will be putting on here before too long. I still got to get the transmission built, and we still got to do something about that rear end. So still got a little bit of a process ahead of us. So hopefully we can get this thing pretty dialed in naturally aspirated form, and then it'll be ready for whenever we add some boost to it. Also, I failed to mention the beginning of this video, this truck does have head studs, head gaskets, and we did gap the rings, so it should be good for boost. As long as the tune's good, everything else should be fine. But since speaking of that, we'll go ahead and look at some of the stuff we got. So as you can see, we got our intake piping. This is 3-inch. This is for the intercooler, and I don't know what we're going to do here. We may not run these couplers. Might try to TIG this together, but if we need to, we can run these couplers. Doesn't matter to me really. We'll see what we decide to do, but we may temporarily mock this up with some of these and everything. But anyway, we also got our blow-off valve. Remember I mentioned that before. By the way, this intake piping and this is also from VS Racing. I'm pretty happy with their product so far. We'll see how they do under boost and everything, but they seem pretty good. And we got this from a Dragstrip. There's somebody selling it up there. Got this for $100. Pretty good deal. But this is what we're going to use to feed the air into our intake, because it has a 4150 style flange on it. Right now it just has an adapter to adapt it to the stock Magnum throttle body. But this will make that a lot better because we can run an LS style throttle body, which is what this is here. And that way we don't have to buy one of those aftermarket bodies from a company like well, any company really. All the stuff for the Magnums is super expensive. I mean, it's like $300 for a throttle, just a throttle body. And then I'd also have to buy one of those carburetor hat things for boost, and like a blow-through hat kind of. And those are pretty expensive as well. They're about $200. So looking at about $500 to try to make something like that work. And it would also raise up my hood clearance. It would probably not be adequate enough to clear that, so I'd probably have to buy a hood, and it all adds up. So with this setup, this should work, the intake and everything, and I may have to space this out, which I do have some spacers that I use on my carburetor. Should be just fine. So I kind of lift it up, because right now it's going to run right into the coolant hose going to the thermostat, but that should be all right. And then we got this throttle body, so it knocked out two things right there. This throttle body was like 80 bucks because it's for an LS. I got it on Amazon. I don't know how great it's going to be, but we'll see. I'm willing to put it to the test, so it's going to save me some money. But this combo here for me costed about $180 because I bought this for $100, bought that for $80. Sounds a lot better than $500 to me, so that's what we're going to do. But that's all we've gotten so far. I still got to get some headers. I guess I got to buy a set of headers, but I'm going to use one of them for that side, and then we got to get some piping. I'm probably going to have to run a 2-inch pipe from the left side header to meet up with the right side header, the turbo header. And then we'll probably get some 4-inch downpipe, maybe. I don't know what I'm going to run yet. I think it's got a 3-inch flange coming out on the back of the turbo. We may run a 4-inch or something. I don't know what you're supposed to run really with that. I'll have to do some more research on that. But anyway, so that'll wrap it up for this one. Y'all stay tuned because it's going to be pretty fun whenever we get the turbo going on this thing. But for now, we're probably going to do a few more passes the way it is, naturally aspirated, and try to do some tuning on it. Like I said, I'll try to make some videos on that. And we'll talk a little bit about tuning as well on this channel. But that'll be it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. But that'll be it for this one. Thanks, guys.